Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Running Tales podcast. My name's Craig Lewis, and as all you regular listeners will know, this is the podcast where we look to tell the extraordinary stories of everyday runners. And guys and girls, we really do have something extraordinary for you today. It's the story of Megan Boxall, and Megan has recently completed an eye-watering challenge to become the fastest woman to run Britain's entire coastline. Now, just before we hear her incredible story, I want to go over one or two very quick bits of housekeeping. As you'll know, Running Tales is made up of simply Michelle and I, two average runners with full-time jobs trying to tell these stories. We don't have backing from the Abbott World Marathon Majors or a national running magazine or influencers championing us everywhere or funding from big brands. It's simply us, so we really need your help to spread the word of Running Tales. Tell your friends to have a listen, give us a positive rating and review, share our stories on social media, and just spread the word, please, please, please. I know it's easy to jump over this bit, have a listen to the stories, but honestly, folks, aside from chucking some content into the evil social media algorithms, this is the way that we reach more people and grow. So thank you so much in advance for sharing the word, for going onto our Substack at runningtales.substack.com. And if you're feeling really generous for perhaps sharing a couple of pennies via our Buy Me a Coffee page, you can find the link to that in the show notes. So again, thank you so much, everybody. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about Megan Boxall. Her journey around the country started in October last year, and it lasted 5,240 miles. 5,240 miles as she ran around England, Scotland, and Wales. So over the 204 days of her run, I think I'm right in saying she completed 200 marathons and perhaps more importantly raised £57,000 for the Samaritans, something we'll be talking about today as well. So with a sub 3.5 hour marathon and several triathlons to her name, Megan was no stranger to endurance events, but running around the country, that's something quite different. Let's find out how and why she did it. So welcome, Megan, to the Running Tales podcast.
Thank you
How are
very
you?
much for having me. Yeah, I'm good actually. This is funny hearing your intro. This is the first podcast I've done having finished it, so it's quite nice to have that intro with the now I can actually say I'm the fastest because it's done, it's completed.
Yeah, fantastic. So I guess the first question everyone will be wondering is, how's the recovery going? How are the legs? And have you managed to do any more? Have you been crazy enough to do any more running since?
Yes, I have, and rather foolishly. So I actually ran a marathon yesterday.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was 10 days after finishing, and yeah, I'm physically it probably wasn't the right thing for me to do. I was thinking about it a lot as I was running, and I I knew, like, as soon as I set off, I knew that I knew I was gonna do the marathon. I just knew it.
Yeah.
I did one of those out like I ran a half marathon out and like to somewhere that there's no public transport to then come back again. So yeah, I was all in, and it was a mistake, I think, probably physically because I'm hurting today. But I've just really missed it. I've missed that sort of being out for a big chunk of the day and running, and so I just felt like I wanted to get back into. I was also quite interested to see how it felt.
Yeah.
Not great was the answer, but I did really enjoy it.
Oh, I think it's fantastic you've been able to get out and do another one. I did the Shakespeare Marathon recently, and a week after that took a park run, nothing more than a 5K park run on, and that nearly killed me doing that a week after one single marathon. Not like running around the entire country. So yeah, fantastic. I want to rewind a little bit and talk a little bit about your overall running journey and how you got into running. And we spoke a little bit in the intro there. You've done triathlons, you've done quite quick marathons in the past. Was running something that was always a part of your life?
Yes, it was. I did a lot of cross country as a kid. I was very sporty at school, like in all the sports teams. And running, throughout my childhood. I then spent more time sort of in my late teenage, and in my 20s, playing more team sports, but playing a lot of hockey, a lot of tennis, and always getting injured whenever I tried to run marathons quickly because I just the training just didn't combine. I was playing quite high
Yeah.
level hockey and training twice a week and then matches at the weekend, and then trying to cram a long run into a Sunday, and it just didn't work. And I think I had to pull out of 5 London marathons because I was injured. So then I switched to triathlon, and got into more long distance triathlon, so like half Ironman distance. And I found that that training fitted a lot better around my lifestyle. I just wasn't getting injured as much. And then having found that sort of the cross training really helped, I just slipped back into really long distance running, and just kept going further and further.
Yeah, and I think one or two we mentioned the I think it was just sub 3:30, wasn't it, that you did. And if I'm right from reading your website, you came 16th British lady or something in a event in Portugal or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So that was in the
Yeah.
Porto Marathon, and that was funny. That
Yeah.
was my
Oh, cool.
first. That was actually the first like proper official road marathon I had done. I having done loads of triathlon, and I just had just come off the back of a half Ironman training block, and I did I think it was 5 weeks from the half Ironman to the marathon. Didn't do. I mean, I literally just used those 5 weeks to do marathon training. And I really surprised myself in that Porto marathon at the pace I could go, having not marathon trained at all apart from the 5 weeks. So I
Yeah.
did, yeah. So it was an Ironman training block, and then I guess almost a taper, like a marathon taper. And I ran a 3.5 hour marathon there, and qualified for, well, got a good race time for London, and that was when I went under 3.5, which was
Yeah.
nice. And then gonna see where I can push it from there, because I'm feeling that now I've got all this volume. I'm hoping I can go a little bit quicker this year.
It'll be interesting, I guess, to see how once your legs have recovered a little bit from this, whether those huge volumes of running help you more or less than the kind of mixed training that you did on triathlon and that was used to make those good times that you've done before.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens, because so when I finished Run Britain, I finished with a park run. So I started with a park run, finished with the
Yeah.
same park run, which I was so glad I did, because the atmosphere was just amazing. And I ran so when I did the park run at the start, I ran it slowly. I did it in half an hour. I just sort of took it casually, and I was planning on doing that for the final one as well, just sort of having a nice time chatting and taking in the atmosphere. And then one of my friends, who is a very good runner, said to me on the Friday, he was like, "I'm going to win park run tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And he was like, "You should push it as well." And I was like, "Nah, I don't think I've got it in me. I don't think I've got it in my legs." And he was like, "See what you can do." And then on the day we were running together, and he was like, I'm gonna go and win it." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm gonna push it too." And I did actually run a 5K PB. At the like
Awesome.
literally at the end from Britain, having
Yeah.
only run 10 miles in the morning. So yeah, it was. There is some pace in there. There is some strength that has built.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll see how that goes down over a longer distance. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. I want to explore a little bit the reasons why you decided to do this run because I think they're kind of multifaceted, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. So it had been in the back of my mind for a long time. My uncle actually walked the coastline of Britain when I was 10, and that was the sort of spark. And the thought of following in his footsteps at some stage has been with me my whole life almost. But I never really had a reason why. I thought about running it, yeah, at some stage, and especially once I got more and more into long distance running. Didn't really know if anyone had done it, didn't really know what it would take. But I never really had a reason why. And I think for something this big, you kind of need to have a really good,
Yeah.
really solid reason why you're going to do it. And In 2024, I had a series of quite serious setbacks with my mental health, and I actually ended the year in psychiatric crisis care, and it was a really horrible time. I was in a really, really bad place. I was relying on the Samaritans quite a lot. I was having really quite dark thoughts, and then at the start of 2025, and this was after I had my good for age time for London, and I was really hoping I could do London, but I was just in such a hole. But I was still training. And it was on one of my training runs in January 2025. And it had been quite a bleak week in the news, and everything just felt really bad. But as
Mm.
I was running near where I live on the coast in Suffolk, and in just my tiny little patch of coastline, I just felt like there was so much positive happening in just a couple of miles. And it just came to me there and then, like in that run, this is my why. I'm gonna go and celebrate Britain and try and shine a light on all that's positive and try and use that as a as a light to overcome what for me was quite a lot of darkness at the time. And yeah, just it hooked me. That idea grabbed me in that moment, and yeah, just didn't drop it.
Yeah, I kind of want to explore that a little bit more in some of the stories you found along the way. But just before we do that, going back to some of the experiences you were having, and obviously you were running and doing triathlons and all that stuff at the time. I always find that there's quite an interesting dynamic around running because a lot of people say, "Oh, running is therapy. Running will help you get better." And I think there is an element of that, but by the sounds of it, your story and loads of other stories out there shows that running is not necessarily the be all and end all of solving mental health, if that makes sense.
No, I think it's I wouldn't say it is the I don't know if it is for anyone, if it's the actual be all and end all, but um for me the my sort of approach to running's definitely changed in the last year, and it's become
Yeah.
way more social. And before, and I'd say it's the social element of it for me now that is more therapeutic. Like I've got amazing relationships with people who I've met through running, and
Mm.
that's what has been more of a help than the actual running itself. Running has always been a part of my life, and even when I was really, really poorly, I was still running. I was still training, I'd say training quite loosely, but and I was always taking my dog Shadow out with me. She needed a walk, and I find walking quite frustrating because it's so slow, so it was always we'd always go. And I mean, she's a border collie, so she prefers the running, she prefers running and
Yeah.
walking as well. So yeah, so we would just keep running, and it was, I'd say it definitely was helpful in that period of time that it I was in a really, really bad way, but it didn't it didn't save me. It wasn't, it
Mm.
wasn't the project, the Run Britain as a whole has been a massive help for the whole from in my recovery. It's been such an amazing adventure. I've met some incredible people. It was a real focus, and I did really feel that positivity, which I think can really come from running. I think I mean, running is an amazing thing, but it's the whole package of it rather than actually just the physical side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously one of the things that did help you, as you said there, was using Samaritans. For anyone who doesn't know about the work that they do, can you maybe just explain what they do and how they help generally? And perhaps, I mean, I guess that's going to answer how they helped you as well.
Yeah, so the Samaritans is a helpline for it's a crisis helpline for people who are really struggling with their mental health. And for me, prior to calling them for the first time, I didn't realize really what like they were there for, and I kind of
Mm.
thought it was for only for people in that real moment of crisis. You often see the number like on bridges, people who are thinking about taking their own life in that moment.
Yeah.
And I first called them because I had had some really, really scary suicidal thoughts, and I had Googled how how to end my life. And when you Google how to end your life, the Samaritans number comes up, which is a great feature of Google. But so that was the first time I called them, and when I first called them, I was really apologetic. I didn't feel like I wasn't in that moment of crisis. I was just sort of pondering the awfulness of suicide. And I called them, and said I was really sorry for wasting their time, and the volunteers. So it's all it's a volunteer organisation, 24/7. There are people on the end of the phone, and they said, "Don't apologise. This is what the service is for. It's for people who are feeling awful. They don't.
Mm.
You don't have to be on the edge, literally." So yeah, I ended up calling them a lot. They're not therapy. They're not offering solutions. They're just a voice. They're just an ear, really. They're just someone to who will listen to you and your problems. And for me, the first time I sort of vocalized how bad I was feeling, it was the first time I really realized how bad I was feeling and how it
Yeah.
was actually really quite serious, and I needed more significant help. And it was through calling them, even though they didn't give me any advice. It just made me sit up and realize that something needed to change. And so that was why I chose to fundraise for the Samaritans, because they were an amazing support to me in those really dark times.
And that amount of money, 57,000, it's going to make I'm sure, a huge difference for them to be able to help other people who are perhaps now in the situation that you were um, then. I'm assuming the fundraising page is perhaps still open. It might be a good time now to just give it a shout out, and if people want to still donate a little bit more, then they can do.
No, it is still open. So it's a Just Giving page. It's Megan Boxall Run Britain is what the Just Giving page is. And it makes such a difference because, as I say, it's all volunteers. And I have got the statistics around how much each pound goes to contributing to keeping the service going. And I think in at a time when mental health provision in the UK there just isn't the funding for it. I think services,
Mm.
charities like the Samaritans and Mind, and there are others, are really, really vital. So yeah, I've been really, really proud to be able to raise money for them.
Yeah. And talking of the lighter side of things that you mentioned as part of the reason you did it, I'm guessing that when you were out there traveling around the outsides of Britain, you did find those stories that you were looking for, and probably in spades.
Oh, unbelievably so. I can't it from the word go, from the second I set off, I was just completely surrounded by just the best of people, the best of humanity, and the best of Britain. And I feel like I've seen such amazing people and businesses and communities, and just so much positive that's happening. And it's such a contrast to what you are often reading in the news.
Mm.
We have so much to celebrate here in Britain, and I think that's been without a doubt the best bit of these last 7 months. It's just, it's been amazing.
Yeah. Are there any particular stories or people who sort of stand out in your mind? I don't want you to necessarily pick them above others, but well, I guess I do, don't I, really?
Yeah, the story that I have probably told the most is one, and I think it really characterizes how great running is, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that is, it was between Christmas and New Year, and I was in West Wales, so the Cardigan coast, which is beautiful, and you can see Snowdonia, and it's lovely. And a man had reached out to me online, he'd filled the form in on my website saying he wanted to come out running with me. He's called Paul. And he'd said which day he wanted to come in. It was a 50k day. And he parked his car at the finish, and his dad had given him a lift to the start. And one of the things that I'm often asked is, did you ever not feel safe? And this is the kind of situation, like a single man in his 30s finding you online and then meeting you, like, have it on when you're on your own. Like, that's the kind of thing that you're told to avoid. But
Yeah.
I was in. And and also it was between Christmas and New Year as well, so it was quite a challenging part of it in terms of logistics. So I actually had planned, like, I stayed with him that night. So he came to the start with his dad. I handed over my luggage to his dad, and we set out. And he didn't really look like a very experienced runner. And I asked him how much running he had done. Bearing in mind his car was at the finish, like, he was all in.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I've done a bit of running." And we got to half a marathon distance. He was like, "Oh, I've never run a half marathon before." I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
oh, oh goodness, you may be in for a difficult afternoon." Um, but he managed it, and he did get quite quiet towards the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then he gave me a lift back to his house. And again, it was one of those situations that was in my mind, like, this is what you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't. And I thought, he's put in a 50k shift. He's probably quite tired, so it's probably fine. And in the evening, we were having dinner, and I nearly made a joke. I nearly said, "Oh, do you want to come out again tomorrow?" But I thought he'd think I was being mean, so I didn't say anything. And then he said to me, he was like, "Do you mind if I come out again tomorrow?" And
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
No, absolutely fine. That'd be great. So then he came out again. He did another 40K the following day, and it was a lot flatter the following day. So it was a lot more actual running, rather than like walking the hills and stuff. And then he sent me a message that evening saying, "Do you mind if I come out again the day after tomorrow, which was New Year's Eve?" So he ended up doing more than 100K over
Wow.
three days, having never run a half marathon before. Yeah,
Oh,
and it was just I couldn't believe it.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's incredible, and well done him.
yeah,
I'll be
yeah,
interested to see if he carries on and gets more into running now, but
yeah.
for sure. So I guess you're doing all this running. How was it? Because that's an awful long way to run, and whatever amount of running you've done, however much it's been a part of your life, I'm guessing it's something completely different to anything you've ever done before.
Yeah, it's completely different, and it's to be honest, it's not even. I would say it's way more of a physical challenge, a mental challenge than a physical challenge. Sorry, yeah, there's obviously the running is hard, the actual being on your feet, the being out in the elements, and especially over the winter, that was hard. But it was so much more of a mind over matter, just get it done every day, and really try and appreciate it, enjoy it, be in the moment as much as possible, never look too far ahead. And I never ever did, because as soon as I did look too far ahead, it all became quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it was it it just became like my lifestyle, and yes, it was it in a lot of ways it's very simple. Like every day for nearly 7 months, it was all I had to do was run, get from A to B,
Mm.
run a marathon. And even though that is difficult, it's yeah, it's simple. It's just a case of doing it. So yeah, I it my body definitely adapted. And I did a talk at a school last night. I had a really interesting question from, I think it was a PE teacher, and she asked me whether I felt like I'd got stronger and fitter, or if my body had just got used to it.
Yeah.
And I think it was both. I think at first it was my body just got used to it. It was just sort of accepted that this is what we were going to be doing every day.
Yeah.
And then in sort of March, April time, when the weather got a bit better and it got a bit like physically it felt a bit easier, I felt really strong. I felt like I had, yeah, I felt like I'd gained strength and fitness. So yeah, it's I found it amazing, like how the body can adapt to something like this.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely fascinating. We've had other guests on Running Tales previously who have done things like, I don't know, running 100 marathons in 100 days, or we had a chap who did a marathon every day for a year and that kind of thing. And excuse me, a chap the other week, Adam Rodriguez, who's doing 55 marathons in 52 weeks as part of his challenge. And virtually everyone we've spoken to, and I'm pretty sure I've heard you say this on other podcasts as well, have said the first four, five, 10 are the really hard ones. It's horrible, and you're wondering how on earth you're going to get through it. And then suddenly your body sort of goes, "Oh, you're not going to stop. I've just got to keep going and keep doing this. So,
Yeah.
okay, I will."
Yeah, and I had been told that, and I I so the first probably 10, maybe less than that actually, I had normal, what felt like normal DOMs. Like every single day,
Yeah.
my I was achy. Every single morning I'd wake up and be like hobbling and thinking, how on earth am I going to run again? But I just did. Um, and then I was told that days 11 to 14 is when you sort of cross the threshold and it becomes easier. Um, I breezed through days 11 to 14. I was like, this has been great. This is no problem at all. But then I got injured on day 17, 18, which then I think it kind of shifted because I didn't feel like I really had that feeling of, oh, now this is just normal, because
Hmm.
I had to spend 4 days, well, I had to take a day off. I had to take day 20 off, and then I had to spend 4 days walking. So by the time I was running again, I just felt like I was so excited to run, and it felt so
Yeah.
so good to be running. So yeah, start of week three, when I was walking, and then by the end of week three and I was running again, I was like, this is the best thing ever. This is this is so much fun. And then I hit the Southwest Coast Path and spent 3 weeks on the Southwest Coast Path, where there is so much walking because it's so hilly.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was and then by the time I came out of that, I just felt felt quite good, felt really strong. So yeah, I do find it really, really fascinating what the body can do if the mind says this is what we're doing, just do it.
Yeah. And when you were on your way around, you mentioned staying at Paul's house in Wales. And I think if I'm right in saying it, you had some support from a caravan or a camper van or something, particularly up in Scotland. But was there set things? Was there set places to stay every night? Were you supported all the way, or was it like, oh, I've got to camp wild this night, or find somewhere at the last minute?
There was never any camping wild, and I never set off without having somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
But I often went to sleep without having somewhere to stay the next night.
Right.
Especially in the first, so the first 3 months I did. I had support off road, so I had a friend, my friend Lottie, who was sort of my off road logistics support, and she just did the most phenomenal job. Um, Even it was just being a sounding board. She was just there every day. But I set off completely unsupported and just I just set off and hoped it would be okay, and it was. And I did train carrying my stuff if I needed to. So I trained with 10 kilos, but I had to carry my bag for one day, and I walked the whole. It was actually when I was injured anyway, and
Yeah.
I yeah, and I didn't. I mean, I had so many people who just wanted to be involved, so it was often friends or friends of friends. And then there were often times that I had a friend who then had another friend a little bit further down the coast who they got in touch with. So we sort of made a chain of support. And there were times that I was completely on my own, like I did the south coast of Devon, completely unsupported, staying in the Premier Inn in Plymouth. But there's a lot of public transport around Plymouth, so I was able to sort of get to and from start points relatively cheaply,
Mm.
without having to rely on taxis or anything like that. But those that was tough. That was really hard because there was quite a lot of travel. And then when I was in Scotland, so once I got to Glasgow round to Edinburgh, I had a camper van. I had three different people who came and did the driving at different times, and that was great.
Yeah.
That was a good section.
Yeah, and I'm guessing they were probably helping you out with a bit of nutrition as well along the way, which can be when you're doing when you're doing that kind of distance at any time, even once, is a big challenge, let alone day after day after day.
Yeah, I found the nutrition really hard, and actually, yeah, as you say, once I was in the van, I wasn't really having to think about it.
Mm.
They just took that off my hands. It became a lot easier, and I was able to be a lot more disciplined and in a much better routine and being in a routine was a lot easier because I just didn't have to think about it. But yeah, the nutrition I found really hard is it's a lot of calories. It was about 4,500 calories that I was
Yeah.
burning every day, and it's quite a lot to eat. And I mean, I love eating, I love food, but the thought that I never really was eating quite enough, it became quite stressful. And then it makes eating less fun. And then you think, oh, what can I eat? What will go down? What's not going to upset my stomach because I've still got further to run? And
Mm.
yeah, it was quite challenging, the nutrition side of things.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm guessing there was probably stages where it's just like, I don't know, stopping off at a local store or a petrol station or something, and what on earth can I find here?
Yeah, absolutely. That happened a lot. And if I ever was really struggling, I tried to drink my calories as best I could because
Yeah.
it goes down a bit better. But that's not fun. Oh yeah, it often, yeah, sometimes it was just, yeah, whatever I can find at this petrol station. Yeah, but so I spent the first 2 weeks like running the entire marathon and not stopping. But in the first month, I lost 4 kilos, which was a bit alarming.
Mm.
So I then had to change the routine. I spoke to a nutritionist and changed the routine. So I actually ran a half marathon or just over a half marathon, and then properly stopped, made sure I had an actual lunch, and then carried on again in the afternoon rather than just trying to just eat on the go and just have lots of snacks on the go. So it meant I was definitely having three full meals a day rather than what I was doing for the first bit, which was sort of two full meals and then snacks, which I was never going to get enough calories in doing it that way.
Yeah. Um, we've spoken about some of the beautiful people you met along the way, but I'm guessing the other thing you must have seen is some absolutely stunning, beautiful scenery as well throughout the country. Because we talk so much in Britain sometimes about, oh, let's go to the south of France, let's go to America, South America, wherever it may be. But we've got some stunning countryside in the UK, haven't we?
Oh, we really, really do. Yeah, it is incredible, and yeah, you don't need to go to France. Go to Scotland. Scotland is stunning, especially up. Like it's a long way to go up to the north, but the beaches up there are unbelievable. And there's one beach in particular. It's called Sandhaven Beach, which is it's almost as far as you can go on the west coast, like on the on the north and west corner. I've never seen anywhere like it. It's absolutely magical. There's no one there because you can't drive to it. It's a walk away from the car park. I don't even think you can sail to it because it's quite rocky and treacherous around there. And it's just
Mm.
the colours and the fact that it's so untouched. It's absolutely stunning. So yeah, Scotland is amazing. Obviously Cornwall and Devon are also pretty incredible. The Pembrokeshire Coast Path is amazing. Yeah, and so many beaches. There's just so many beaches and places that I didn't know there were beautiful beaches. The east coast of Scotland as well, actually, south of Edinburgh. There's just some amazing places down there, and yeah, I feel really lucky to have seen it all, and it's been really fun this last week going back over some of my photos and yeah, having a look at
Yeah.
some of those amazing places.
Yeah. Now, one thing I was going to ask you about, because I just wonder how much of that you got to see through all of the dreadful rain that we had throughout this winter, because this was one of the wettest winters I could remember, and you're up in the north of Scotland and in Wales and all these places which are probably even wetter.
I yes, I it was a long winter. It felt really long. And I did say to myself a few times, is this a particularly bad winter or am I noticing it because I'm outside every day?
Yeah,
But I think it was a particularly bad winter.
I think it was.
And it's funny actually, I look back. I obviously I took fewer pictures when the weather was bad because I couldn't get my phone out because it would get wet. So there are
Mm.
definitely a few places that I know are beautiful, especially in South Wales, like the Gower, bits and pieces around Carmarthen that I didn't take pictures. And I know there was a beautiful beach there, but I didn't see it because it was grim. But actually, I'm heading down to Salcombe now, and I think I was as cold as I've ever been when I was in Salcombe, but because I got soaked in the morning, absolutely soaked through, and it was freezing. It must have been late November, and then you have to get a little ferry over, like into Salcombe. And as I got the ferry over, the sun came out, so I took a picture. So Salcombe in my picture looks beautiful, but I know I was frozen and I was in such a bad way. So I'm quite excited to go back there and actually be able to appreciate it and really enjoy it rather than just being like, I think I'm dying. I'm so cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
But
and,
yeah,
and sorry, I was going to say I believe that your sister was partly to blame for that because you ran through the winter because of her wedding this summer. Is that right?
yeah. So she's getting married in a few weeks, actually, in
Oh,
June. And yeah, I mean, yeah, my sister was the most incredible support to me when I wasn't very well, and she's been engaged for a while, so the wedding was already planned and everything was and yeah in place. And I was when I was really really in a bad place, I was just terrified that I was going to be a real downer on her wedding day, and I just couldn't. This was sort of the end of 2024, start 2025, and I couldn't fathom being able to enjoy her wedding.
mm,
And um and but I thought maybe if I've done this run before her wedding, then at least people will have that to talk to me about. And and obviously now, like, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm my mental health is great now, so I'm not I'm not at all nervous about socializing and having a good time. But yeah, I knew my window was, well, now at the time that's gone. I've told myself that doing it in the winter was the right thing to do for many reasons. It was cheaper because accommodation was easier to sort out. I didn't have to carry so much water. Um, Shadow was able to do like full days. She wouldn't have been able to if it was really sunny.
yeah.
I had the coast path all to myself on lots of days. I mean, I've told myself stories to try and make it feel better.
That's
But
the
yeah, it
rain
was.
team down.
Yeah. It was hard though, especially when it was really, really muddy and really cold, and wet. That was, yeah, it was really difficult. But yeah, it also made when the sun did come out, like April and May were lovely. So I enjoyed
Yeah.
the running then.
I don't know whether you found this, and I don't know whether you needed the rain to find this anyway, considering what you were doing. But this is just in my very small running world. And I was telling somebody this morning that when I go running in the absolute torrential rain, actually quite like it. Not because it's cooling me down or anything like that, because it just makes me feel like I'm doing something unbelievably hard that everybody else is inside in their houses. And look at me, I'm out in the horrible weather. Aren't I amazing?
So I completely agree with that, and that's what I told myself before I set off. I was like, I enjoy running in the winter. It's fine. Like as exactly as
Yeah.
you say, it's very different doing it every day, and also it's
Yeah.
very different as well when you're running from A to B. And you sort of you've left your stuff at A and you're hoping it's going to get to B, and there's no like the days that I had support and I was able to change, or I was able to get in and get dry and warm up in like in between the terrible weather, that wasn't so bad. It was those days like the Solcombe day where I got soaked through in the morning. I knew I had to stop to eat something.
Mm.
I had to try and find like a pub with a fireplace or
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
serving soup or something like that. And yeah, I completely underestimated that it's different to like going out and running in the winter where you then like have a guaranteed shower at the end of it and you don't have
Yeah.
to travel back or yeah. So yeah, it was it was different to that, but yeah, it was, I mean, it's made for some good stories.
Oh, definitely. And look, my badass in the rain days are 5K, not 50. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that makes a
Yeah.
massive difference. Um, how do you, it's been 10 days, I think you said. How are you looking back on it now and the sense of achievement that you're getting from it, particularly given, I mean, not only what an unbelievable achievement it is, but where you were a year and a half ago?
Yeah, it's funny, and I had a real wobble about that actually before I finished, and I think I was having there were a lot of people who were asking me, how are you going to feel? Are you scared about finishing? And I it
Hmm.
kind of got in my head that yes, I'm terrified of finishing, and how is it going to feel? And because it's been my whole existence since I got well, and I was really scared of going back to that dark place. I was in Hull, and I crossed over the Humber estuary, and I just felt as I crossed over that bridge, I did feel like a big sense of achievement in that moment, because I thought a couple of years ago that's the kind of bridge I wouldn't have been able to cross without being terrified of what I might do, what thoughts might come over me. And from that point, so that was 2 weeks before I finished. I have just felt I have felt really good about finishing, and it doesn't really feel like it's finished. Like obviously the running's finished,
Yeah.
but the journey and the adventure continues. And yeah, so really surreal. Like going back and finishing, because I finished at home. And I went back home the night before, because my final day was quite a short day. So I went back home the night before I finished, and I was in bed, and the person who was there with me is someone who is a new person. He's someone who I've met since I've done this, and I was like, everything feels the same, but it's
Yeah.
different because you're here, and it's such a strange feeling, and it still feels the same. But then I'm going down now to visit people who I didn't know before I did Run Britain, and my life has changed so much, so indescribably. I feel like a different person, but then everything else is the same around me. It's a really strange feeling. It's a nice feeling, but yeah, it's really strange.
And this may be too early for you to have made a decision, although you may have been thinking about not much else for the last few months. But um, is the plan now to go back to your previous life? And by that, I don't mean the depression, I mean what you were doing before and your life as it was before. Or are you now, a lot of people who do challenges like this, it sort of becomes their life going forward. You look at people like, I don't know, the hardest geezer, and all he seems to do now, after since running past Africa, is do another challenge and another challenge and another challenge. And I think like Elise Downing, who had this record before you, she's done other challenges since and written a book about it and that kind of thing. Is your thought now that like I'm going to be this something, whatever it might be, in the world of running?
Yes, undoubtedly. For me, the main thing is probably actually less about the running, but it's
Mm.
more about the positivity, about the celebrating Britain, and also that sort of recovery from mental illness. And I think that's where I feel like I can really make a difference. And in my previous life, I was a financial journalist, and I did enjoy my job. I enjoyed what I did, and I genuinely thought that's what I would come back to.
Yeah.
But I just feel like there's more that I can do. And I think the response to the positivity, like, go and find what's good and what's positive, and throw positivity out into the world and see it
Mm.
like reflect around you, which it really does. I've had such amazing responses to that, and I just feel like that's where I can make a difference. Running will definitely continue to be part of that journey for as long as my body allows me to. I will keep trying to push it and do big challenges. But for
Mm.
me, those challenges always need to have, oh, that why. They need to have a purpose. And I've been so pleased with the why of this one.
Nice.
It's done exactly what I wanted it to do. It's got that conversation going, and I want to make that conversation bigger. I want to reach as many people as possible with that. Um, if you are struggling, it's okay to be struggling, and here's how we can make it better. And yeah, so that's what I want to keep doing, at least for now. And yeah, there's definitely a book in the works. There's definitely other challenges that are sort of in my brain. But yeah, at the moment, I definitely just want to keep banging that drum for how great Britain is, and how much positivity there is. Yeah, to find.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing to do because I used to work in journalism myself as well, and we all know that like there are some stories, whatever they may be, that kind of have to be told, even though they might be a bit on a downer or whatever. But also, I think kind of some of these positive stories do get missed, and I think the big trick is perhaps how to push them out there and show them as achievements and great things and people stories, rather than what we tend to do is in the media is put these stories as the funny at the end or as something saccharine, and it's like actually let's just talk about people's achievements and the amazing things they've done, like what you've done and so on.
Yeah, I completely agree. And as you say, there are a lot of stories that are important to tell. But I think I found when during this challenge, some of the things that really started to get to me was, and I wasn't really that engaged with the news, but how long some of those negative stories or some of those less good stories last for, how many
Mm.
days of the same bad story we can have headlines for. And I think that can become a bit of a problem. And I think maybe people aren't aware of how much damage that sort of being surrounded by the bad stories, the same bad story, can have. When there are difficult things that people are going through at the moment. It's not like life at the moment for a lot of people isn't easy. And I think trying to really find the good stuff that's out there and showcase. And as you say, it's not just a funny, oh, look at
Yeah.
what this person's done, or look at what this, I don't know, turtle did. It's actual genuine human
Yeah.
positive stories, of which there are so many. There are
Mm.
so many. And yeah, I think shining a light on them is really important.
Fantastic. Oh, I wish you all the best with it. Are you able to say at the moment what the next challenge will be, or is it still just being formulated?
Well, yeah, no, I am. So I've got in the summer I'm planning on doing more volume, more long distance stuff with some friends, and we've got a few things that we're thinking of doing. But the main thing for me is that I want to try and go quicker. I have multiple sclerosis, and I am aiming to, so yeah, the next big thing is to break the world record for a marathon run by a woman with multiple sclerosis, which is three
Awesome.
hours and 12 minutes at the moment. So it's quite a big PB, but
Mm.
it's I just feel like this is the year to go for it. And I've had so many people as well who I haven't, the MS hasn't really been part of this story, but when people have found out about it, a lot of people say, oh, are you sure you should be running this much? Are you sure you should be, and
Mm.
questioning how good. And I, to be honest, I don't really think anyone should be running this much. It's not about the MS. Like, it's probably not a very sensible thing to do for any human being. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's, I don't. I think for a condition, and obviously I am not a medic. I don't know, but I do know that my MS is looked after by neurologists. It's under control. And if I'm not running, or if I'm putting barriers on my running because of the MS, that wouldn't be good for me. There is no question that that would be a bad thing for me. And I think telling that story, and I think trying to show that running is good for you, exercise is
Yeah.
good for you, no matter what you have. Yeah, I think that is what I would like to do with the end of this year. So
Mm.
yeah, that's why yeah, gonna try and push for that world record. Yeah, in the
Oh, good luck
autumn.
with that. I think that's so powerful. I have a friend, Natalie, she's been on the podcast before. She has cystic fibrosis, and kind of everybody said to her when she started running, while you're running, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to make yourself sick, and she probably has made herself ill with some of
Mm.
it, but she's also run marathons. She's become one of the very few women in the UK to run a marathon with CF, and her messages is kind of exactly what you were saying. These things don't have to be life limiting all the time. You can still
Yeah,
do them, and
yeah,
you should. So
yeah, yeah. So that's the next thing, and then yeah, maybe something else big, as in time wise, big in the future, but probably not 200 days again. It's quite a long time.
yeah, we need to find a smaller island.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Megan, thank you so much for joining us and telling your story on Running Tales. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks again to Megan for joining us today on the Running Tales podcast. Thanks to everybody for listening. Go and check the show notes out. Find how you can donate to Megan's cause, to the Samaritans. It's a really important, really good cause. So go and chuck a few pennies and pounds that way as well. Give us the likes and subscribes that make us hopefully reach some more people with Running Tales. Check us out on Substack, runningtales.substack.com. Tell all your friends about what we do. And most importantly, please join us next week for another episode of the Running Tales podcast.